Welcome back, fellow jazz bums. Today we are excited to have the three of us get together, and we're going to go through the Analogue Productions Prestige series. Each of us have selected 5 records. We haven't shared what selections we have. I suspect there might be some overlap just based on previous conversations, but I'm excited to see what everybody's going to show. Before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe, leave comments if you collect these. Which are your favorites? Which do you recommend people pick up? And we also have our Jazz Bums Discord, which we're going to link in the description. Come and hang out, join. We have a bunch of people on there chatting. And then we also live stream every Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and you can come hang out with us there. With that, I'm going to kick it over to Felipe to get us started.
Okay, Mike, Chris, good evening, everyone. So this video has been like in the making for some time. I've always been thinking we should do a top 5 Analogue Productions Prestige series. It is a series that dates back to 2012 when Analogue Productions started doing this high quality reissue series, Blue Note, Prestige, Impulse, Verve, starting with Fantasy. And the importance that was the high quality of the releases for sure, plus the availability. Even back then, some of these records are hard to find. They were rare, they're expensive, and they were sitting there for a while, as Chad always says, and then, slowly they become desirable, they become expensive. Comes COVID, they slowly reissue them, people just go crazy.
Yeah.
Super hard to get.
Yeah.
Depending on if they find records here, covers there, and whatever, you have a few seconds to click and buy.
Yeah.
Now, past 3 years, we have the whole series in stock.
Yeah.
Easy to grab. You can just go there. Still same price, right? $40, yeah.
Yep.
Still go there. $40, and you can choose.
All 50 are in stock right now. So we thought that would be another good reason to do it. Because if people want to pick them up, they're all available.
Yeah. It was quite funny. I was just chatting with Chris. Like when we were buying this, there's no option. Whatever was available, just buy it. And now people can choose, which is a great thing, but can also be a little, since you don't have to buy everything. Okay, what should I do? Where should I start? So I think that's
when they they started repressing them again in 2022. Was a little bit before that.
It was 2020. I think they announced it like in February of 21. Does that sound right? Okay.
Yeah, I think so, Chris. Because I remember placing my orders like in May of 21 or 22, something like this.
Well, I remember the first one that they repressed was Lush. I'm pretty sure it was Lush Life. Mm-hmm. And they put up like something on their Instagram or Facebook, and it sold out, I think, within like a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And that kind of set the tone where people were checking if they were being repressed and restocked every day, multiple times a day. Yes. And when they would, people would like let everybody know, and everybody would just go in and buy them. It was like a mad rush.
Well, the thing that was funny about that was that they were at first just like either using up jackets they had left over from the first run, or using up records they had from the first run. So they would put one out and they would have like 200 copies and they would just be gone.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm probably why Felipe did. We just pre-ordered the whole fucking series.
Yeah.
So all 50 of them.
Yeah, I just pre-ordered the whole thing. And now I think given the current situation, we can look back and have done like more critical listening instead of just buying them in a frenzy. Okay, so what do I like? What does the series comprised of? So I think that's a good moment for us to look back and make our not judgments, but our likings in the whole series.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and this was very challenging. I think if I were to have selected 5-6 months ago, I probably would have selected a few different ones. And 6 months from now, I may select different ones. So the series is really excellent. It has a lot of great titles. So this was really challenging.
Yeah, and just to give a description for anyone that doesn't know, I mean, these are all put up on Analogue Productions, of course. They're all cut from the tapes by Kevin Gray, pressed at QRP. They have the Stoughton jackets. I mean, they're all tip-on jackets. They're kind of this, for me, one of the standards, along with like the Tone Poets, as for what in the new OJCs, I'd put it in the same category as just kind of the standard $40 audiophile jazz reissue that you want,
Yeah.
And they're all 33s, so they're not, 2 discs, which is nice.
Yeah, and I think, like Felipe said, the first run of them really went up in price. Originals of these can get really pricey. Plus, there's condition issues.
Yeah.
And then there were OJCs of a lot of these, so that was kind of an alternative to get. This is, obviously the premium package that Chris kind of mentioned. And generally, I think when people AB them, these are considered excellent, cut records. So, and I don't know if Chris, if you mentioned Kevin Gray, Coherent cut everything. So he's on all 50 of them, and they all sound spectacular.
I think on the last note, to just remind people, just like you buy the Blue Note series, everything has the Blue Note label. With Prestige, it's a little different because they had like the subsidiaries, New Jazz, Moodsville, Bluesville, kind of representing different tiers, if you like, or niche for a certain type of music, kind of guide the buyer, listener back then. So I think that's also a good point to, even though it doesn't have a Prestige label, it's in the Prestige series because it's within the Prestige family.
There's 50 in the series. 25 of them are mono, and 25 are stereo.
They're all kind of from the same era. You know what I mean?
For the
Like
most part,
there's not any like 70s Prestige in here or anything. It's all,
Right.
50s, early 60s.
All right. Chris, you want to kick us off?
Yep. Okay, so the first one I picked, I'm kind of doing these in my current kind of top 5 order, and this, I guess, will be the 5th one, but they're all really great. So
Nice.
I chose this one, Benny Golson, Grooving with Golson. This is on New Jazz. It's from 1956, and it's got Benny Golson on tenor sax, Curtis Fuller on trombone, Ray Brown on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Art Blakey on drums. I mean, a lot of these are hard bop records, right? Just because of the time period.
Yeah.
This one really stood out to me over a lot of the other ones just because of Curtis Fuller, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like his playing on this with Benny is just outstanding.
Agreed.
Yeah. So
yeah, and Art Blakey's on drums on that. I think what's interesting is Blakey, because Benny Golson was a jazz messenger. He was on Monin, the Monin album, as well as other albums. And I think what's cool about Blakey is he supported his side men to go out and do their own records, and you could see that he plays drums on this. Also on Wayne Shorter's VJ records, he plays drums on a few of those. So even though he has the Messengers at the same time as this, he's also supporting them on different labels with different groups, which I think is pretty cool. So
it's very cool.
Yeah, and Golson also took care of Lee Morgan, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Yeah, I had to cut it out on my list. I figured that either of you would pick it up. I think it's one of the came like the latest in the series, right? When repressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's, and I think you nailed it. I think Curtis Fuller gives like the perfect touch with our Blake in there, and Golson just rise through. It's a great album. It's a great album.
Yeah. It's also, I mean, the grooving part is true because it's hard bop, but it's also, I don't know, it's got a groove to it that's just a little different to me than a lot of the other stuff, like the Hank Mobleys, which are great. But
I agree.
They're just kind of separated for me from a lot of the other stuff.
I agree. I think this one almost sounds like a Blue Note session. Maybe the one that is closest to that Blue Note era.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps it's because Benny and Blakey are so tight because they're working elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, that might be a stretch to say, but I do feel like this one has that Blue Note sound more than the other ones that I was listening to today.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, Rudy recorded it, so.
Yeah. My selections, I think 4 of my 5 were recorded at Hackensack. Yeah.
So I'm going alphabetical by first name. So no arguments there. And this is a record. This is a guy that took some time for me to get into him, just because I think the ideas were a little different. And my first choice to start with was not the best one, I think. But when I got this record, this blew me away. It's not like the most advanced or the most, I wouldn't even say out there, the most, ahead of his time record. It's a pretty standard hard bop session. But the music here, what these guys are doing, Eric Dolphy, Freddie Hubbard, Jackie Byard, George Tucker, which was part of the Harold Parlin trio, and Roy Haynes. I think all these guys together, like pretty much geniuses of their own instruments, is a record played to perfection. I think Hubbard um, and Dolphy, they complement themselves so much better, so well here. It's great. It to me was one of the first ones to really catch me and click with Eric Dolphy. Not as great as Out There, I think musically. It doesn't even get closer to Out to Lunch, but still, I think it's a great introduction, and the music here is outstanding. Not so advanced, but it's really outstanding.
No, that's a great point. It's a great one, Felipe. I mean, that's his first record. That's his first record that he recorded as a leader. I love that record. It's amazing. And you're right. You know, it's funny. I think back to when we got these records, right? Like we were struggling with that kind of music. Not this one's particularly, but like Out to Lunch, you know.
Yeah.
Like to me now, I think for the three of us, Out to Lunch is just like a normal record, probably, but sure as hell wasn't 2 years ago when we were all, you know, listening, you know, buying this stuff and listening to it together and talking about it on Facebook and shit, you know.
I think also like this made an impression on all three of us because Dolphy plays bass clarinet, which I think it was just different than a lot of the stuff we were listening to. He also plays flute and then alto.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think like when we look at these 50, this like the Dolphy kind of 2 or 3 that were put out do kind of stand alone because of just the instrumentation's different and the compositions are different. I agree with Felipe. I wouldn't say like this is like, you know, out there, even though it's called Outward Bound. I do think this is probably one that, you know, a lot of people would enjoy. But yeah, I think it does kind of stand alone.
It's cool. It's called Outward Bound because it was like where he was headed, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, he had a mindset for sure.
So I'm doing mine chronologically by recording date, not by release. And this one, my initial 5, this was not included on it. I wasn't going to include any of the Miles, even though, you know, those are great records. But I did decide to include this because I think it's a cool session. It's a compilation. It's not necessarily like 1 inch is on side A and another 10 inches on side B. It is more of a selection. Bags Groove takes up the full side A. There's take 1 and take 2. And take 1 was put out on another record. A couple different variants. And yeah, that side has the lineup is, I think that's the side with Thelonious Monk, and then who's on organ? I think it is. Hold on, I got it right here. Okay, so the Bags Groove side, it's Milt Jackson on vibes. This might be my favorite Milt Jackson, and I haven't heard all Milt Jackson stuff, but the stuff that I have heard, his vibes sound incredible on this. So he's on it with Thelonious Monk, Percy Heath, and Kenny Clark. So that's the Bags Groove side. So you get 2 takes of that. And then on the other side, you get Miles with Sonny Rollins, Horace Silver, Percy Heath, and Kenny Clark again. So I just picked this one because the music's great. Bags Groove is, you know, one of my favorite jazz standards. Love that song. Obviously named after Milt Jackson. His nickname was Bags. And yeah, and there were so many great players on this. And I don't shy away from the comps. I know a lot of people, you know, they prefer to have like a single session or a couple sessions with the same guys for kind of a 12-inch LP. I don't really mind that so much, especially when you get so these recordings were from there were 2 sessions from 1954. So like when it's kind of in the early of the 50s, you're not going to get like full 12-inch releases. I don't think that happened until I think Prestige started putting out 12 inches in 55 or 56. And that's why you see a lot of those just being 2 10 inches or comps. And I think those are great. They're just great ways to get those 10-inch records. So this one also sounds phenomenal. It's I think the whole series sounds good, but there are some that kind of are kind of the top tier. And I think Groove is definitely one of them. And for a recording from 54 from Hackensack, I mean, it's incredible how this thing sounds. Really excellent. So this is definitely one to check out.
It is definitely one of the best sounding, I think, in the series. I also think that anytime you have Monk involved in a project, you're bound to not have a full album. It's just a fact of life, man, with Monk back in the day, you know.
Yeah.
plenty of stuff that they it took forever to get a record out of that guy sometimes. But no, it's a great sounding record. I love that one too.
It's really great sounding. I had the same impression when I got mine first. You can hear, like, if your system is like set up and you're sitting on the right spot, you can kind of feel the musicians moving around towards the microphone back and forth. And people might say whatever, but those vibes there, they sound better than any Bobby Hutcherson record I've ever heard.
Oh, shots fired.
Sound wise, I mean, honestly, right?
They do sound, even like if people that aren't that into vibes, give Bags Groove a listen.
Yeah.
You're not about you just need to get your life corrected. You know, come on in for the big win with the rest of the team.
This will help correct it.
Help correct that, yeah.
All right, round 2.
This one blew me away the first time I heard it. All Morning Long, the Red Garland Quintet. I like this more than all the other. I mean, to me, this is a Coltrane record, really, but I think I like it better than all the other Coltrane stuff in the series. It's kind of a jam session record, right? It's got 3 songs on it, 2 on the first side and 1 on the second side. And there's some other ones too that are kind of like jam records, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's really considered a jam record or not, but I mean, it's similar to the ones that are named that we've talked about before. So anyway, you got John Coltrane, Donald Byrd, Red Garland, George Joyner on bass, and then Art Taylor on drums. I don't know what it is about this one. It's from 1958. It just stands out to me. Again, It's just kind of a standout record from the rest of the series.
George Joyner, he was bass player in Ahmed Jamal's, I think it's like second trio.
Okay.
So he played a lot with Ahmed Jamal. He played with Red Garland on a bunch of albums. Lou Donaldson, Dolphy, George Coleman. I just looked him up because I'm not too familiar with him. I haven't dove into Ahmed Jamal's catalog enough to be familiar with him, but I think it's a great record. The track All Morning Long is 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 20 minutes and they just stretch like crazy. It's like, I think it's one of the best jam session records on Prestige. And Prestige is kind of known for having those jam sessions where, like, I forget, the producer would pick up the guys in like New York. They'd go over to like Rudy's, and whoever was there kind of played for the day, and they, played standards, and they took long stretches, and made up a lot of those Prestige records. And they're kind of known as jam session records.
Well, Stanley, I really like this record, and I think that the jam session that you emphasize is really true. It's a great record for you to like close your eyes and just delve into, because it is really good. It's well recorded as well, and it's one of my favorites too, Chris. But I kind of guess it would be your pick, so I did not pick that one. I have one, Moodsville, now. As Eric Dolphy, there's a bunch of Gene Ammons records in the series. So I picked was one of the last ones that I got. This is called Nice and Cool.
Oh yeah.
I like this one. It's like a very more like on a ballad side. It's very bluesy, it sets like a nice, relaxed mood. If you see the band itself, is Gene Ammons, Richard Wyans piano. Richard Wyans, he played with Count Basie, he played for Ella, and many other bands. Of course, Doug Watkins on bass and J.C. Hurd on drums. He's like an old school guy. He's more like from the bebop era. So they're playing this standards on a very bluesy, calm. And Gene Ammons has a tone that, right, any Gene Ammons record kind of relaxes you, takes you somewhere else. And I think this is one of those that I liked a lot. There's everything in the series is great, but I like this one. If you want to like relax and have a good time and enjoy some really well played and soulful music, I think that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I love that one. Moodsville is interesting because it's like, you think of mood music, which is kind of a negative connotation because it's like crappy, easy listening jazz-ish stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Around that time, right, it was called mood music, but yeah, that was just beautiful, man. Just super chill, and Gene's tone is just like butter, man. It's great. I love that record.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
great.
I don't have that one, and I forgot to mention that I have a few of these records that are different press. So I didn't I have tenor and a Bergenfield pressing. So that may have been something I would have included, but I decided to only show the APs that I have.
Yeah.
Same thing with like Quiet Kenny. I have the mono record store day. That one was certainly one to take a look at as well. There's a few other ones too. So I did limit myself in that regard, but I don't have that Gene Ammons, and I do want to check that out now. Next up, we're moving on to 1956. So, or I'm moving on to 1956. Bags Groove was 54. This is also recorded at Van Gelder's, and this is one of the Jackie McLeans that are included in the series. I was struggling to select this one or 4, 5, and 6. I decided to go with this one just because I think I could be wrong. I think this might be his first lead record, or it's definitely an early one, and it's Prestige 7035.
Yeah.
So that is pretty darn early for the 7000 series, right? And it's really cool that they released it. It has Jackie McLean, Donald Byrd on trumpet, Elmo Hope on piano, who is incredible on this, Doug Watkins bass, and then Art Taylor drums. So killer quintet here, and it's definitely, I don't know. I feel like Jackie McLean's tone on this. It's one of in terms of like his career, because his style changes over the decades, but the early stuff is kind of where I really started to gravitate to when I was getting into Jackie McLean, and this record in particular. So this was one of my entry points into really diving into his catalog. So this one is definitely one to check out. It has a really cool cover. I was trying to look up to see if there was a story around the Lights Out title and the cover itself. I thought I heard that there was a story around it, but I couldn't find it before the video. So if you guys know, or if anybody else knows, drop that story into the chat, please. But
awesome.
So yeah, they do A Foggy Day. They do Lights Out, Kerplunk. I'm not sure in terms of compositions. Yeah, so there's 3 McLean compositions, 2 Don Byrd, and then they do A Foggy Day, which is a standard. So it's got a good mix too, but this one's really good.
4, 5, and 6 is great too, and then Jackie's Pal's pretty neat too.
Oh yeah, I have another pressing of that.
What do you think about Lights Out, Felipe?
I like it. I think from the ones in the series, that's my favorite, Jackie McLean.
Yeah,
Nice.
Cool.
I think that's a really good.
Validated.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd probably pick that one too. I've been just thinking about it. I mean, it's hard. There's 50 records, so
Yeah.
figuring what they all are is tough. But I think that might be my top pick out of I think there's 3 Jackie McLeans. I can think of off the top of my head anyway.
Yeah. I think the horns are great, but the rhythm section, what they're doing there with Doug Watkins and Elmo Hope is just amazing.
Elmo Hope is really good on it. Yeah,
Right.
he's kind of my favorite part. Jack also amazing too. But 4, 5, and 6, that one has Hank Mobley, Donald Byrd, Mal Waldron, Doug Watkins, and Art Taylor. So that's also a really cool lineup as well.
Elmo Hope kind of sets this one apart, though. I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Still alphabetically keeping with Jackie. I'm gonna put Jackie's Pal here.
Oh,
All
sweet.
right.
It's not the best of those, like by the critics, reception and stuff. So it's pretty much the same band that Mike just referred for 4, 5, and 6. You have Mal Waldron, Paul Chambers, Philly Joe instead of
Art Taylor.
Art Taylor. Yeah. Actually, one of the criticisms that Philly Joe is not as tight with the band. He was not playing with Jackie as usual. So this is a weak point here. But I think it's really cool that he introduces Bill Hardman. It was, they played together frequently. Bill Hardman was kind of more like a sideman kind of person. He was not very, into the scene. So I think it's pretty cool. It's a nice cover. The music is good. It's not like outstanding, excellent, but I think it's like really nice and warm and and I like Mal Waldron. I think with Mal Waldron, like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, I really like that one. I mean, it's got Bill Hardman's a great player, man. Underrated player in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoy that one. Oh man, it's so hard. Okay, so I'm gonna go with this one. Out There, Delphi. It's on New Jazz. What year is this? 61, I think. 1960. I think it was like the same year or shortly thereafter Outward Bound. But this one's different to me. This one is amazing just because it's got Eric Dolphy playing alto sax, flute, B flat clarinet, and bass clarinet,
Mhm.
and then Ron Carter on cello, George DeVivier on bass, and Roy Haynes on drums.
Yeah.
And to me, the coolest part of this is it's really Eric Dolphy and Ron Carter kind of exploring, right? In my opinion.
Oh yeah.
And DeVivier is just kind of, they're keeping the kind of the straight man bass lines going the whole time, right? But then it's just,
Mhm. Yeah.
just such a cool record.
Yeah.
And the cover's badass too. I mean, like it's like I don't know what the hell's there's a metronome there, I guess, and
The cover is crazy.
Oh yeah.
like there's a flying bass and cello or a hi hat, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, this is musically one of my favorites out of the whole series. And again, there's like atonality here, but there's not like a bunch of just straight up dissonance, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
all the stuff that Eric did on Prestige is way before Out to Lunch.
Yeah.
Right. So Out to Lunch is, much farther on the outside of the norm than any of these records. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. But it's very musical too, right, Chris? Don't you think?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a straight bass line and drums going most of the time. It's like just kind of giving the freaking atmosphere of what you consider normal music. So
Yeah.
I like that one.
And it's easy to follow. It's pretty good.
I think I just have the wiki up, and it says that this is one of Ron Carter's earliest records.
Makes sense.
Good place to start.
Yeah, it's just really interesting to me, like bass clarinet plus cello plus bass plus drums.
Yeah.
It's just, and then another one will be like this really beautiful. And I'll tell you, Eric Dolphy's flute playing is just gorgeous too. Like he can go just super weird and kind of honky with bass clarinet and stuff, and then go just fiery blasting with the alto, and then just have beautiful flute playing all on the same record.
All right. Well, this will be short because it's already been shown, but it is Red Garland's All Morning Long. We kind of already dove into it, but definitely, I think this is one to get out of the series. It just has a uniquely Prestige sound because it is a jam session, and I think it is one of the better ones. The lineup is great, and the soloing is great. So this is definitely one I think to pick up out of the 50. So
I think that band sounds really tight for being a jam session.
Yeah, and there are other jam sessions in the 50 here, and then obviously there's other ones, but this is, I think, the best one. Because there's All Night Long with the blue cover, and that one's good. That one's good, but I think this one, I like this one better.
Me too.
Number 4, the 1956 session is at 70-80. The Youngbloods. I had to pick this record.
Oh, nice.
I think the cover is badass. It's one that took some time to be reissued. We're kind of expecting this record to be out there. So it's Donald Byrd, Phil Woods, Al Hay, piano, Teddy Kotick bass, and Charlie Persip drums. That's the usual band that they were playing those days. And I think it's one of the earliest Phil Woods records. And he's just killing it. He writes for the tracks in the album. He's a major participation. That's why his name even ended up being in front of Donald Byrd's name, which was not the initial plan. But I think that's a very straight hard bop session. Great musicians, great presentation too. I think Kevin Gray's work here again, it's amazing. This record sounds beautiful. And I just like Phil Woods. I think his tone is just great in his Prestige and all his later work, 60s, 70s. I mean, he's always delivering for sure. But yeah,
of course he is, man. It's Phil Woods.
It's Phil Woods.
I didn't pick that one just because I didn't want to be cliche and pick a Phil Woods record.
Yeah. You know a funny fact that I was reading. Let's tell you guys, I'm reading Bill Evans' biography. And the author in the intro is talking about how he collected all the interviews about Bill Evans and about his life and everything. And he said the only guy that declined to give me an interview was Phil Woods, and his reason was, whatever I have to say about Bill Evans, I'm going to put in my own book.
That's awesome.
Man, that's ruthless.
right?
So,
And he ended up writing his own book. That was funny. I thought that was amazing.
Now, does Phil Woods? He had a couple in the 50, right? Of the 50, there were like one or two or three.
yeah, I have Woodlore, which is a great record.
And
Too. Early-
Woodlore,
early
yeah.
record.
Yeah, well, Doris
Really-
great too.
Yeah. No, that record's kick ass, man, and everybody knows that I love Phil Woods. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of that record, Mike?
No, I didn't get any of the Phil Woods. I was very selective.
They're still in stock, bro. You can correct.
I might
that.
get it. So,
Yeah.
what was the other one? The Gene Ammons and then the Phil
Yeah.
Woods. I need to revisit those.
Yeah.
I honestly, I just, after I think I bought 25 of them, then I have other pressings of some other ones. So I was just investing so much that I had to be selective. So, but it might be time to revisit.
Well, I mean, just to take a short pause on that, people, you should buy these records if you have interest in owning them. Because, I mean, I'm not going to say buy now or cry later, but like, I'm not sure they're going to be able to repress these again. Like, all these gigs are not just handing out licenses to press these series again. We were surprised when this happened to begin with a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
All these records, when I all of them, most of them were 100, 150 bucks a piece.
Yep.
Yeah. The
When they
AP,
were-
the AP ones. Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least, yeah. Oh yeah.
Before they were reissued, so
Oh yeah.
I had to go with another Dolphy. So Eric Dolphy, the 5 spot, we mentioned it briefly earlier. It's him with book. He plays alto sax and bass clarinet in this one. Then it's Booker Little on trumpet, Mel Walter on piano, Richard Davis on bass, and Ed Blackwell on drums. This was kind of one of the big one of the working bands that he played with, right? Maybe the best working band he played with. I mean, Booker Little died shortly after this show. This was in '61, I believe. Yeah, it doesn't say. Yep, 61. Recorded in 61. It's live at the 5 spot, recorded by Rudy. He brought his gear in and recorded it. And as Mike was saying earlier, they ended up with 3 records. There's volume 1 of this, volume 2, and the last one was called Eric Dolphy Memorial or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But Mike, so anyway, the reason I picked this one, obviously it's kick ass. I really like it because it shows this band that was playing together all the time, right? They were playing together every night. They were working, not just recording, showing up and recording a session. So highly recommended. I mean, look at the people who are on this thing.
I know.
You can't go wrong, dude. I mean,
And we just lost Richard Davis. We just did that live stream dedicated to him.
That's one of his earlier sessions. And do you guys have volume 2 for this one?
Mike does.
Well, I have not to
that
go
one.
too deep into this. This is a box that I think came out in like '74. A little beat up here, but it's the Great Concert, and it's 3 discs, and it has all 3 of the records here. So, and I think they put out Analogue Productions. Did they put out the first 2? You can get
Just one.
Okay.
Yeah. I have those other 2 as blue labels, and they already sound amazing, and it's great stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, this box is not that expensive. Last time I checked, maybe a year ago, but this is like very affordable. The records sound good. It's a really good way to pick up everything. And it has a nice insert. Let me see who writes it.
Yeah.
I had that and I sold it to 10 cents and I regret it still.
Is it a green label, Mike?
Ira Gittler does the liner notes. So, what's that?
Is it a green label?
It is green label. So they come out on these, which I do like these pressings.
Yeah, they sound great.
Yeah, they're good.
They're kind of like precursors to OJC almost. I think like maybe George Horn. I could be wrong with that, but they sound really good. I mean, they're a good way to pick up these records for sure.
Okay, so next I'm going to show one more variation of the Prestige, which is a record that struck me from the very first day I bought it. And I think it deserves to be here. It deserves to be mentioned. And, it's a blues view. So...
Oh, I think I know which one it is.
Willis Blues.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's great.
This thing is killer. It's. I mean, people talk a lot about Muddy Waters sing, but I think the Willie Dixon stuff is as good as, or if not better. It's a great band here. Memphis Slim on piano, which shares credit on the title with him because he plays the whole record. Gus Johnson guitars, Wally Richards on drums, Wally Richards on guitar, Al and Harold Ashby tenor saxophone. This record was released in 1959. It was his very first record and probably his best. The sound is like very dark kind of blues, I mean, the themes are always a little dark and melancholic, but I mean, the way the presentation here, you get the echo, you feel like you're in the room with them, you kind of feel the same feelings with them, And there's a lot of stuff that those British guys stole in the 70s and say that they invented rock and roll.
That's a great one. I have the original blues classic version, but it is a great album. And that first track where he stutters when he sings is incredible.
Right?
Love that.
Yeah, I love the record too. That's a good point, though. I mean, what is there? 5, 6, 7 blues records in the 50s?
Some of the Lightning Hopkins stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So hold on. I could share my screen real quick. Here we go. So the 5 blues are the Lightning Hopkins, Going Away, which I have a copy of this. It sounds really great. This Jimmy Witherspoon, Evening Blues, another Lightning Hopkins. This one, Chad said that it's a needle drop. I've heard it still sounds really good. The Willie Dixon you just showed, and then there's another Lightning Hopkins.
If I was going to pick one, though, I would pick the one that Felipe just showed. For sure.
Yeah, I thought you were going to pick the Lightning Hopkins, Going Away until you showed. I forgot that was part of the series.
To be honest, there's a lot of hype about Lightning Hopkins, but I like Willie Dixon much better.
That's 100%, dude. That's the best out of the 5, I think.
Right. Yeah.
And Willie played because I think he played on records for Chess. And because of that, Argo was kind of Chess's jazz label. And he plays on at least, I have one jazz record that he's on at least. And I think it's with Grant Green and an organ player. I forget which one. But anyway, he's great bass player. I picked the Benny Golson, Grooving with Golson. I do think this is a standout session of the 50 here. I mentioned earlier, it might be too strong to say it sounds like a blue note, but it does like kind of have a certain type of groove and feel, rehearsed feel to it that I think is a little different than some of the other Prestige sessions. And yeah, I mean, it's great. We kind of went over it earlier, so we don't need to revisit, but this one I definitely recommend picking up. And when it first came back, I didn't select it because I think like 4 or 5 or 6 titles came back and I just couldn't afford to buy them all. So I picked like 3 and I left this and it sold out that day. And I regretted not including that. So when it came back, I had to pick it up. So I got this.
Yeah, we clowned on Mike for like a year, but he didn't have it and we did.
It took forever to come back.
Yeah, it did.
That's a great cover too.
It really does.
Yeah, great cover. All these have really beautiful covers.
Yeah, the covers are amazing. All right, so my last one is the last record they released. This is my favorite of all 50.
Nice.
Booker Irvin Freedom Book. It's a Bob Hard Bob session, but it's got Booker Irvin on tenor sax, Jackie Byard on piano, Richard Davis on bass, and Alan Dawson on drums. And everyone knows anything with Richard Davis and Alan Dawson is fucking kick ass. It's gonna sound a little bit out there, right? Like I think it's those 2 guys and Jackie Byard too, right? Like those 3 dudes. Like I said, it's a hard bop record, but it's got some essence to it, man. And then I think Booker Irvin's just like a tough, kind of rough tone that just kind of fits in there. So I think this is the best out of all 50.
Yeah, and there are a few other Booker Irvins that are on the series too. I agree. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, it's really kick ass.
Oh yeah.
This guy's from Denison, Texas too, man. So he's a Texas tenorman. So
nice. Yeah.
What do y'all think about this one?
I like it. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was the very last one, right? Because counting down every single that's going to be a release. It's never there, and it finally came, and it was really, really worth it. But to be honest, I'm glad that this thing is done. Don't have to worry about this anymore. My credit card is happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy too.
Yeah.
For anybody that doesn't know, if you pre-order a shit ton of records from Acoustic Sounds, since Acoustic Sounds, since their website is like from the 1900s, I guess it was like $2,000, right? It was like $2,000 to buy all 50 records. And so every time they would ship one, they would, whatever the amount you had left, they would charge that to your credit card temporarily, and then they would charge you the $40. So, like out of nowhere, my debit card gets like an $1,800 charge on it. After like 2 months of nothing, it's like boom, $1,800.
Yeah.
So my checking account didn't even have that much in it a couple of times, so I had to call them and say, run it again, man. Like, take my $1,800 out for a day so you can get your $40. So
Yeah.
I'll probably never do that again.
Yeah, not ideal.
The only advantage was a single time shipping fee.
True.
Oh,
100%. That's true. Yeah, the shipping was like $12 or something for the whole series. That's true.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
it should be
good.
free. You just spent $2,000.
Well, it's funny, like so I was buying them as they were coming back in print, and sometimes it would just be one. So to get it, Acoustic Sounds used to have free shipping over $50.
Right.
So I would get one, and then I'd search around the site like for like a classic series or something like that to add on to it.
Yeah.
And now I think shipping is $100. So they doubled it. So you'd have to get three of these to qualify for free shipping, which is unfortunate, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great
I had
one.
an order. The last time order I had, that I wanted to order the Mingus, I think, and then some other record, and it was like a $60 record and a $39.98 record.
Yeah, exactly.
2 cents short of the free shipping. I was like,
well, that's what Music Matters. Like they used to have, I think it was like $100 for free shipping, and I would get like a $59.99 and like a $39.99 one, and it would be 2 cents under the free shipping.
Right.
And they wouldn't give it to me. So it's kind of like you have to, I don't know.
Yeah. You guys
is $200 for shipping, I think.
Yeah. Like, do you guys sell candy? Can I
exactly.
put a candy there?
Yeah. Can I get a sticker for 2 cents?
Yeah.
So, all right. I have my last one here. And
Pressure, last record of the show.
This one is really good, really strong. This is the tenor scene. Johnny Griffin. This is a live record at Minton's with Junior Mance, Larry Gales, and Ben Riley. So it's a little bit of a different lineup from the rest. This one sounds really good. I even hesitate to say this because I don't want to turn anybody off. Because it's live, it's not going to sound as perfect as some of the studio sessions, like the Groovin' with Golson, but it really sounds fantastic for a live session. I'm picking it and recommending it. It sounds, it's very good. And yeah, I was just listening to this today when we were kind of going through everything. And this is from, I think, 61 or 62. And they do Straight No Chaser. So that's a Monk tune. Let me see what else is on here. So they do a couple Lockjaw songs, a Dizzy Gillespie song, Woody and You. I Remember April, which is a standard, and then Straight No Chaser, which is Monk. So they do a good mix of songs on this. It's fantastic. And I picked it because a lot of these, like the Dolphys or the Booker Irvins, the Gene Ammons, like they all, they really have a distinct sound. I will say, like, these Prestige series, they give you a variety of styles. Although, I mean, a lot of them are hard bop. They're still varied within that subgenre. And this is an example of that. So this one, if you're familiar with Lockjaw, Johnny Griffin, it's, right up their wheelhouse. It's got a killer groove to it. And yeah, it's a really good one. What do you guys think of this one?
Yeah, really good one. You're really, really good.
Shit. I think it's a great choice because it's kind of in line with what I was trying to pick out. They're all done. I mean, like Mike was saying earlier, there's some straight up warhorse titles in this series, like Saxophone Classes, like you said. What's the Coltrane? I've gone blank.
Lush Life?
Lush Life. What's the other one?
Soul Train. There's a bunch. There's the Coltrane.
Right.
That one's really cool. I like that one. I thought I was going to pick the Coltrane self-titled because Shahib Shahab's on it, which makes it kind of special.
Well, do you have any runner-ups that you want to talk about?
Yes.
I didn't pull anything.
I didn't pull anything, but I do have one that I did want to mention, and it's the It's the Tommy Flanagan Overseas. And the reason why I mention it, and it may not be the only one, I think there might be like a George Wallington, but it's one of the few, if not the only trio in the batch.
Yeah.
So that alone, I think, makes it really cool, because they're very, they're sextets or quintets, horn heavy. I mean, some of them, like Tenor Enclave, have like 4 tenor sax players or 2 altos and 2 tenors. So there, lots of players on these. So the fact that this is a trio really does make it a little different.
Yeah, I mean, this was in my top 5 this morning.
Yeah.
And I changed it out. And then this one, of course, just insane.
Saxophone Colossus, yeah.
Colossus. Another, I think this was going to be my number 6 place, though.
Yeah.
Taylor's Whalers.
This is great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You should always try the Taylor's tenors. They should have done Taylor's tenors. That one is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's like impossible to get.
That's a killer one. And I think on a runner-up, I would edge Steaming. I think that record sounds spectacular. The music is spectacular. I mean, it's a winner overall. If you don't know, if you got one, grab Steaming.
Yeah, that's the Miles Davis quintet, and they do Salt Peanuts on that, and the drum solo on it is fantastic. It's just a great rendition.
And I got to show this one now. Okay.
Oh yeah.
A second ago. So this one is Jazz for the Carriage Trade, George Wallington. This is early too, 70-35, so it's before that Jackie record.
Oh wow.
This one too has Donald Woods and Donald Woods.
Okay.
Bill Woods and Donald Byrd on it. Right?
Yeah.
Really cool record. Another one that I really love is that Elmo Hope, Informal Jazz. I think that's probably one of the, if you were doing top 10, I'd put that in my top 10 probably.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all good, man. Like, check out the records, and if you stream them and you like the music, buy them, because they're gonna be kick-ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
By now, dude.
Man.
All right. Well, any last thoughts here before we close out?
No. Again, I think any title is really well curated in the series. There's a couple missing in any list.
Yeah.
But it's a great list. I think it's if you can grab them all, because it's gonna be for like posterity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Prestige records, I mean, the originals can get really pricey. Like a lot of these are good deals. $40 for these in this quality. Yes, they're not originals, so they don't, have that. But I mean, they sound fantastic, and the presentation is great. This is, I mean, I love the single sleeve compared to the gatefold. They're tip-on jackets. They're quiet vinyl, so it's got all that going for it.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. They're great.
Yeah, and I think they say they're 180 gram, but I think they're like all 200 gram actually. Like I've gotten some, other people have like done like weight tests to them, and they're definitely heavier than 180. A lot of them. Yeah. But anyway, so thanks for sticking in here with us. Remember to like and subscribe. Leave some comments. Let us know what your favorites are, which ones you don't have that you want to get. And yeah, see you guys next time.
Thank you. Thank you.